Welcome to Context Bites. Here you'll find lots of ideas that you can use for your AO3 links for English literature.
Thanks for joining us, guys. And today I thought we'd take a look at Juliet, more specifically her ego and how it drives her actions. The theory behind personality was developed by Sigmund Freud, and he basically suggested that our personalities are made up of three parts: the id, the ego, and the superego. So let's start with the id. The id part of our personality represents our basic instincts. We want instant satisfaction or pleasure. And if you've ever had a craving for something, say chocolate or ice cream, and you had to have it in that moment, well, then that's the id part of your personality talking. Our second personality trait is the ego. Now, the ego acts like a referee, balancing out our inner desires from the id and our sense of right and wrong from the superego. Imagine this scenario. Your id says, I want a piece of cake right now. Your superego would say, well, cake is bad for you, you're not having it. And your ego would step in and say, let's just have a small bit. So the ego really helps us to make rational and realistic choices that help us function in the world. And it therefore balances out the other two personality types. Finally, we have the superego. Now, this is the part of our personality that basically judges us. It makes us feel guilty or ashamed if we do something wrong. And it's also the part of our personality that wants us to follow social norms, meaning it wants us to follow rules and values set out by society. So let's see if we can apply these ideas to Juliet. Let's take a look at Juliet's id. Now, this part of her personality is perhaps most obvious when she falls instantly in love with Romeo. She seems to form an emotional attachment very quickly, and this doesn't even change when she finds out that he is a Montague. Her rational thought is completely taken over by her desire for him. Consider this. She barely knows Romeo, but is willing to marry him the day after meeting. In Act 2, Scene 2, she states, if that thy bent of love be honourable, thy purpose marriage, send me word tomorrow. Why the rush? Well, that's because her id, her basic instincts, emotions, and impulses are driving her forward. When she learns about Romeo's banishment, she goes into a whirlwind of emotion. She's absolutely devastated by his banishment, and we can see this in Act 3, Scene 2, when she states, that banished, that one word banished, hath slain 10,000 Tybalts. She's more devastated about Romeo being banished than she is about Tybalt's death. And remember, Tybalt is her own cousin. And so we can really see that her id is prioritizing her love for Romeo over family honor here. Finally, think about when she drinks the poison. It could potentially kill her, yet she's still willing to risk it all to be with Romeo. You could argue that the id side of her personality is overriding her fear in this moment. Let's move on to looking at her ego. Remember, the ego is our more rational and logical side, and we see this side of Juliet come out during the balcony scene, where she does seem concerned about how quickly things are moving between her and Romeo. In Act 2, Scene 2, she states, it is too rash, too unadvised, too sudden. And to her credit, she's not wrong. They've only just met and are already talking about deep affections for one another. She's at least trying to apply reason here. Let's revisit the poison scene, but this time from the perspective of the ego. Although she ultimately takes the poison and risks death, she does openly discuss her concerns. Firstly, she's worried that the poison won't work, and that she'll have to marry Paris. Secondly, she's worried that the potion is actual poison, and that Friar Lawrence is trying to kill her to cover up his role in their secret marriage. She's concerned about waking up in the tomb alone, and she's also worried about going mad. She fears she might lose her mind, and bash her brains out with the ancestors' bones. So you can clearly see the ego part of her personality trying to rationalize whether or not to take the poison. So which part of her personality do you think wins out? Is it her id, her impulsive side, or is it her ego, her more rational side? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Finally, let's consider her superego. Remember, the superego represents our guilt, but also the pressures placed on us by society. You can probably already see where this is going. Think about what expectations are placed on Juliet. She lives within a patriarchal system and so has to obey her parents, especially her father. In Act 3, Scene 5, when she disagrees with Lord Capulet about marrying Paris, he states, "Hang thee, young baggage, disobedient wretch." The marriage in itself isn't about love, it's about status and wealth, and so Juliet would feel pressured into securing her family's legacy by marrying Paris. And her superego would encourage her to follow the values set out by her parents. Her superego would also make Juliet feel guilty for betraying her family by loving Romeo, an enemy of the Capulets. She would begin to question everything she's doing with Romeo. And in all of these instances, her superego would encourage her to be a good, dutiful daughter. So let's sum up our ideas. Within the play, Juliet shows a number of sides to her personality. Her id drives her love and passion for Romeo. Her ego tries to navigate and rationalize her secret love. And her superego makes her question if what she's doing is right. So the next time you have a question about Juliet, consider which part of her personality is driving her actions. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your ideas in the comment section down below. Don't forget to check out the next video in our series.